We're at it again. The Smiths, the retired party of two. I'm Linda, and this is
David Smith, and we're so happy and delighted to have you again back on the Retired Party of Two podcast. Hope that you are hitting that like and hitting that subscribe button. And what's the next one? Like, subscribe,
and share.
She always like to make sure that we share. So we hope that each episode is building up on the next one, and we hope that you are putting comments in because we really want to hear your comments. What are your thoughts about some of the contents and things that we've been talking about? Okay, so please make sure you put some of those comments in there. The last time we kind of talked about some things that we enjoyed about each other since retirement, and today we want to talk about what we have learned about each other, because let me share something with you. People can be married or they can be together for years and they never know each other. I've known couples, or we've known couples who have been married for 30, 40 years and get a divorce.
Yeah.
And we like,
what happened?
Yeah. How do you stay together that long? Was it for the sake of the kids? Because some people stay in it for the sake of the kids. Some people stay in it for the sake so they don't have to pay any alimony or child support. And so they just kind of tough it out. And sometimes they live double lives, but, what we want to do is kind of talk about us. And again, our disclosure is this is our opinion, this is our life. And so kind of talk about what we've learned about each other since retirement. So that's some things we've learned in the last few years. And so she's giving me that out. I don't know what that out was about, but she's giving me that out. So just kind of let's talk about what we've learned about each other since retirement.
I think we've learned how to communicate better. We were just, when we were working, just going back and forth and sometimes just passing each other. But I think now we've had time to just really sit down and learn how to communicate together better.
Absolutely. And communication is important. People don't think about communication because sometimes men can take a term different than what a woman takes a term. Because, for instance, let's play with each other. Let's play with communication right now. So, I'm always doing something. I'm always around you. What do you mean that we don't do nothing together? But when you say that we need to do some things together, what is your interpretation of what that communication means? My
interpretation is you could be in the building and you could be present, but not present.
I still don't know what that means in communication. So what does that really mean?
That means that you could be in the building, you could be here, and your mind could be somewhere else as you do all the time.
Right. So actually, what she's saying is that I don't spend quality time.
There you go. Quality time.
Quality time. So just because we're in the space does not mean we're together.
Right.
And I think that's very important in communication, that we've learned from each other, and how we've learned about each other since retirement is that we're just not passing and doing things just out of the air, but we're now really trying to understand what that means when you say we're not doing things together, which means we're not spending quality time together.
Yes, because he could be with me, and in his mind, he's already thinking the next meeting that I have to attend. So I can tell when he's present, and I can tell when he's just in the building, and I can tell when he's really making that communication, which is that connection to exactly that connection. Yeah. When we get connected, I can tell when that happens. Other than that, he's somewhere else. He's talking to me, but he's already at another meeting. So I can definitely tell that.
Boy, y'all getting the pure version. This is uncut. This is uncensored. so
men, we know when you're in the building, and we know you when you're present. So definitely you. So.
All right. Well, that's a good thing. So that's why we wanted to kind of talk about this. But one thing I can say about my wife, another thing I've learned about you, is that my wife is loving. And I'm not just saying that just to say, my wife is loving, and my wife is very caring, and she's very compassionate. She has a bark, but she don't have teeth to bite. Okay, but
stop it.
Just telling the truth. Again, uncut, uncensored. So, but yeah, since you kind of get to know each other, you have a chance to really not only communicate, but you have a chance to really see a person's heart.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the heart that pumps. I'm talking about the mindsets. I'm talking about the motives. I'm talking about decisions and the desires that people have.
Right.
And so when you have that time to really sit down and communicate, I've learned about you that, man, you are really, really a loving person. I think that's what attracted you to me was your spirit. And so that's a loving spirit. I've learned about my wife. She cares about people because you're always trying to help people. You're always on the phone. You're always trying to find information. When people need help, it's hard for you to say no. You used to talk about me, but it's hard for you to say no. And I watch you, and just watching you, you always going to go that extra mile. And it's not for you. It's for you to help other people. And so I always say that you have a loving and you have a compassionate spirit about who you are and those things. So I think those things are very important as husband and wife, or whether you have a fiance or not, that you really have to pay close attention to people and close attention to their significant other, so that you can really be able to communicate and not take things out of context.
Because a lot of times you can communicate verbally, but your body language also says a lot about you. You know, you can watch a person's body language and tell what certain things mean. You know, I always tell him, you know, a lot of things I can hide, but my face I can't hide. So
anybody that know her knows that.
So but the good part about it is I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I think I've made a lot of progress with that. So I think I can kind of control it now. Yeah. So and most of you that know him, or if you may not know him, he's a very let's see, they call, I say he's rigid. Yeah. He's really a rigid person. You know, he's kind of stiff and firm, you know. Loving guy, but he's a business person. Yeah. And so everything is always chop, chop, chop. And I'm like, sometimes I tell him, oh, just let your hair down. Da, 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 da. So I tell him, stop being so rigid. You know, with him, I can already tell you, most people who know him already knows that it's either black or white. There's no gray areas with him. We're not gonna try to slide into anything. We're not gonna try to do none of that. You know, it's either black or white. It's either right or wrong. And so most of you that know him always know that he's gonna choose the right way and not the wrong way. So I think I love that about him, is that he always tries to do the right thing. You know, he takes his integrity very much. He takes that very seriously. And it would be great if a lot of people would actually do that, you know. And I think that's what attracted me to him also, is that his love and his action for his integrity, and his name really means something. So And that's important, I think, for our audience to know, is that your word is your bond. Yes. Back in the day, they didn't used to shake hands. I mean, they used to shake hands. It wasn't contracts or anything like that, you know. But I think today it's important for couples. It's important for people in general to understand that we're talking about each other, but I think we need to learn how to treat each other just in general. Right. How to treat each other, and then how to have integrity. Right. So people don't have to put a question mark saying, I don't know about that. Right. I don't know about that person. And if somebody says something, I used to hear the old folks say this, if somebody say something, it don't matter what folks say about you, just make sure it's not true. That's right. So especially when they're trying to accuse you of something or being immoral about something, just make sure it's not true. So I think that's a good quality that you see in me, and a good quality you see, and then to understand that we're not perfect, and we'll continue to work on our personalities and the things that we do. We're still working on it. We're still a work in progress. Right. Another thing that I've learned about my wife is that she's very structured. And when I say structured, she's an administrator. That's the type of work she's done. She's very structured in what she does. She does a lot of research, and she makes sure that everything is lined up. And that's one of the things I have to tell about vacation. I said, sometimes we go on vacation, I don't want an agenda. I don't need an agenda when we go on vacation.
I want us to flow. As long as you know the flight, we need to know what time we need to be at the airport. We need to know what time we're landing. We need to know where we're staying. But sometime after that point, all I want to do is just flow and have fun. But that's that administrative part of her. But that's what I love about it, because I lack those areas. And that's one thing about relationships, is that when one is weak, the other one has the strength to help that person in that. And then my wife is a giver. She's a giver. She loves to give. She loves to share, and she's a prayer warrior. You know, my wife prays, and every man, look, you want a praying woman. If a woman not praying, and every woman, you ought to want a praying man. I'm talking about serious, who has a relationship with God and who's trying to live as a person of integrity. Make sure that you have a praying man and a praying woman. That's very important when it comes to knowing each other. Because you don't want to get in a relationship and find out this person is a liar. This person is a what they call not a hypocrite. There's another word I'm trying to think. An imposter.
Right.
One thing, 1 minute, and something else. So you want to make sure
one thing at home, and when you go out the door, you're something else.
Absolutely. So sometimes my wife and I counsel, and we see so many different and hear so many different stories. But again, what we've learned about each other is the thing that we've seen in each other. And sometimes we were moving so fast in our marriage life, we didn't see the best until after we retired, the best qualities. And I think that what makes it so enjoyable. And even for us to do these podcasts is to be able to learn from each other and be able to share that. Right,
because people may not know that you're an introvert.
Yes.
Very much of an introvert. And people may not, with the structure that he has, he's really an introvert. I mean, he really has that shyness about him. But I think what happens with his shyness, his rigidness kind of overrides some of that, and I think that comes from him being the oldest child and having to take charge all the time. So I think the take charge and then the introvert, sometimes it fights each other.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it comes out on top that, you have that structuredness about you with the black or white.
Yeah.
But then you got that calmness about you, and you got that introvert to where you want to pull back. Your shyness, and you get quiet, and sometimes he gets withdrawn, and sometimes people may not really even know that, so because they're actually looking at the structure part of it.
Yeah, that is true about me. I am an introvert.
Yes.
I just have to be out in the public. I just have to be sometime in the forefront. But I can always work behind the scene and be just as satisfied. Right. And but those are some things, and I think sometimes we need to know about ourselves. So somebody might be listening to this podcast, and you may be the same way, but don't think you're less valuable. Because you may be shy, because you may want to be kind of behind the scene person. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not, because we need behind the scene people.
Absolutely.
In order to. It's not always about the front part. It's a lot of times about the behind the scene. Everywhere I go, and I don't care what kind of function I go to or where I go to, I always look for the behind the scene person. It's not always about the person up front, because the person up front is actually delivering what you need, but it's always the people behind the scene that makes it happen. So I'm always looking for the behind the scene people, and I always like to reward those people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing that we've learned, let me say, because we're going back and forth to say what we learned about each other. I've learned about my wife is that she's very balanced in what you do. And when I say that, you can wear multiple hats. I can't do that. I cannot wear multiple hats. I mean, you can be doing administrative. You can help raise the children. You could be on the phone telling somebody to hold while you on your computer. You can multitask. I cannot multitask too many things. I can't juggle too many things at one time.
It's not that you can't do that. Now listen at this, and I want you all to listen at this. Women have what we call a hypothalamus gland. And what that entails is that allows you to do multiple things at one time. That way you can see a woman, she could be in the kitchen cooking, she could be talking on the phone, and she could be caring for the baby at the same time. Whereas men, you have to give them one thing at a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And sometime I think I'm getting off track, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway.
Go ahead.
So I think
this is your podcast.
Yeah, I can say what I want to say. That's right.
Podcast.
That's right.
There you go.
So anyway, so what happens with men, and this is gonna be for free. What happened for men is that they can only do one thing at a time. But what we mess up as women is we want them to think like women, and we want them to act like women, and they cannot do that.
That's a good
and
point.
So I'm telling you, you listening at this podcast and looking at this podcast, don't expect that from men. Give them one thing at a time. If you want them to exceed and excel, give them one thing at a time, and don't expect them to do multiple things because they do not have that hypothalamus gland that we have. So I know that for sure.
All right, Dr. Smith.
All right. You better
You
understand.
going with your bad self.
Yes.
I don't know, Glenn.
Yes.
You know, I said it a little bit under you.
You sure did.
But that's a good point. Seriously, that's a good point.
Yes.
And when you don't know each other,
Right.
you'll be barking at each other. You'll be having miscommunication. You'll be arguing with each other. You'll have so many verbal fights and calling because you don't even understand your significant other or your wife or watch this, or your family. Sometimes your children. It doesn't matter. This is just learning people. We're talking about what we've learned from each other.
Right.
But this can go along with just people in general.
That's true.
About understanding, and I think that's a very valid point.
Right. Sometimes we make frustration for our own selves.
Absolutely. Not knowing
not knowing and expecting something that's not there.
Absolutely. And man, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that out. And another thing I like about you, not only are you able to multitask, not only are you a praying woman, not only are you a person that's compassionate, not only are you a person who's at admin and that you're very structured, but you know how to balance. How to balance. You kept me balanced when I was, because as a pastor, you got to understand, a man is let's take the pastor role out. A man is the leader of his family. A man is a husband, especially if he's married, and then a man is supposed to work. So I'm saying all that to say what I've learned about my wife, she kept me balanced because I have 3 daughters. And so raising our family and raising 3 daughters, I was kind of strict. But you told me and showed me in love how that we need to make that balance, so that we weren't going to make our children, they were going to be normal just like everybody else's children. Right. That our children was going to make mistakes just like everybody else's children. Mm-hmm. And so I was glad that you did it. So one of the things about you that I've learned about you is that you know how to make things, you know how to balance life, spiritual life versus the physical life, mm-hmm. right? And family life, mm-hmm. all of that. You really helped me to balance it, and I think that's important. Maybe you can talk a little more about it because that's in you.
Yeah, because guess what I seen? I seen an empty nester. So I was looking long term. I wasn't just looking at short term. Yeah. So I wanted my girls to be able to survive on their own. I wanted them to be able to take care of themselves, and so they are able to do that now. That they are able to take care of their families on their own, and we're able to be empty nesters now and enjoy each other. Right. Yeah, and enjoy each other. So
we're so proud of our daughters. We're very proud. We have 3 wonderful daughters. Their husbands. We are very proud of them because they are independent. They know how to live. They know how to live their lives. And I think we probably would not have as close a relationship that we have had not you gave me that balance. And I'm gonna commend you for that because you did that for me. Right. Because I was that leader and I was that man, and like you said, I was very structured. And so sometimes that can be taken wrong in the family. But you helped us to have that balance in the family, and that is still to be appreciative. And because that's why family matters. Right. We need that. And we need to learn from each other.
I love it that our girls, as we talk about ourselves, is that our girls are even financially fit. And we'll talk about that more about being financially fit as we go down in some of the podcasts. Because sometimes I think we're out of order when it comes to finances and being out of order. So I thank God that our girls are financially fit. I even think, even when you talk about you and I, it's amazing amazing because I love it when we're never ever down at the same time.
That's true. And that's just a
Either
blessing,
if
too.
you're up, I'm down, or if I'm down, you're up.
Yeah.
You know, if you're down, I'm up. We're able to pull each other up.
Yeah.
And so as you go on with your spouse or
Important.
your significant other or whatever, it's important that one be able to pull the other one up. So when I'm down, he pulls me up, and when he's down, I pull him up. So I love it that we have that balance. You know what they call a work-life balance.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we have a marriage balance.
I'm glad to have that, too.
You glad to have that too. I am too. So I thank God that we're able to complement each other. You know what? Because we really do that well. So you have any final thoughts before we leave the set?
You would put me on the spot. Okay, well, let me share this. Okay, let me say this in closing. I think that it's important that we communicate.
Okay.
And so it's always good to have an open communication
Okay.
and understand what terms and words mean when women say things versus when men say things. So understand each other and have an open and a loving communication. I think, secondly, it's important to compliment each other.
Yes.
Like I said, you are loving, and you are prayerful. You're very supportive. So I think we need to learn how to compliment. So not only communicate, but learn how to compliment each other, and try to encourage each other. And the last but not least, I think you said something a while ago. You said
We're better together.
we're better together, which is
Yes.
completion. We're better together. Yeah, that's good. And so that makes you complete. So communicate, compliment, and better together, which makes you complete. Work together because you're better together.
Right.
So with that being said, before we end, we want to make sure that you look at and get one of our books. We would like for you to help us out and purchase one of our books. It's called Family Matters by my wife and I, David and Linda Smith. We'll be happy if you can go to Gumroad, and we'll make sure that's down at the bottom so that you can purchase your book, get it in your home, share it with your family and friends. I guarantee it will be a blessing to you. So with that being said, my wife would like to always close with these three things. She wants you to
Like, subscribe, and share.
All right. So God bless you again. Hope to see you on the next time. Don't forget to put those comments in. Signing out is the retired party of
2.